You've just finished the best quarter of your career. Numbers up. Deadlines crushed. Every deliverable, early, clean, exactly right. And your manager calls you into a one-on-one. You sit down expecting acknowledgement. Maybe a conversation about next steps. Maybe, finally, that promotion discussion. Instead, your manager smiles and says something strange. I just want to make sure you're feeling supported. Supported? Not celebrated. Not recognized. Supported. You walk back to your desk. Something is off. You can feel it, but you can't name it. Then, 3 weeks later, your colleague Marcus gets the promotion. Marcus, who arrives 20 minutes late every Tuesday, who missed 2 deadlines last quarter, who spends 40% of his day in casual conversations with your manager that never seem to be about anything important. You sit there replaying every moment. And you start to ask the question that nobody around you will answer honestly: why does my manager trust him more than me? This video is the answer. And it's going to make you uncomfortable. Most high performers believe a very simple equation. Work hard. Deliver results. Get rewarded. It feels logical. It feels fair. It feels like the way the system should work. And that belief, that quiet, deeply held conviction, is exactly what makes high performers so easy to overlook. Because while you were focused on the work, something else was happening entirely. A completely different game. And the rules of that game were never posted anywhere. Here's what most employees believe about workplace trust. They believe trust is earned through reliability, through consistency, through doing what you say you'll do, when you say you'll do it. They believe managers are rational. That somewhere inside every performance review is a logical mind tracking output, quality, effort, results. They believe visibility will come naturally. That if you're excellent long enough, eventually the right people will notice. Every single one of those beliefs is partially true. And almost completely wrong in the way it actually matters. Here's what your manager is actually measuring. Not your output. Not your reliability. Not even your results, not in the way you think. Your manager is measuring something far more primal. Psychological safety. Not yours. Theirs. Every human being in a position of authority is, beneath the professional surface, constantly, quietly asking one question about the people around them. Does this person make me feel secure? Or threatened? That's it. That's the engine underneath almost everything that happens in workplace dynamics. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because when you are exceptionally competent, when you deliver perfect work, never complain, never need hand-holding, never ask for direction, you trigger something unexpected in your manager's nervous system. Unpredictability. Stay with that. You think your independence signals confidence. Your manager's brain reads it as distance, as opacity, as someone they can't quite read. And managers don't trust what they can't read. Marcus, the late arriving, deadline missing, casual conversation Marcus, gives your manager something you don't. Access. Every one of those 40-minute conversations that looks like wasted time? It's not wasted time. It's relationship currency. It's Marcus handing your manager a live feed into his thinking, his concerns, his loyalty. Your manager knows exactly where Marcus stands. Your manager has no idea where you stand. And uncertainty, in the human brain, registers as threat. But here's what's actually happening underneath that. Your competence doesn't just make your manager uncertain about you. In some cases, it makes them uncertain about themselves. Think about this carefully. You're delivering results without asking for help. You're solving problems before they're even raised. You're moving faster than your manager anticipated. To a secure manager, that's a dream. To an insecure one, and most managers carry more insecurity than they show, that looks like a mirror. A mirror that quietly asks, if she doesn't need me, what exactly am I here for? You never said that. You never thought it. But the dynamic creates the question anyway. And here's the brutal part. Your manager will never say this out loud. Not in a one-on-one. Not in a performance review. Not ever. Because they barely recognize it in themselves. Instead, what happens is subtle, slow, almost invisible. The feedback you get starts focusing on soft things. Your presence. Your communication style. Your executive presence, that beautifully vague phrase that means nothing and everything at once. Your results never get challenged. But somehow they never seem to be quite enough. Meanwhile, Marcus, who actually does need guidance, who asks questions, who checks in, who occasionally fails visibly and then recovers with your manager's help, Marcus is feeding your manager's sense of purpose. Every time Marcus asks for advice, your manager feels needed. Every time Marcus fails and recovers, your manager feels like a coach who made a difference. Every time Marcus sits in that casual conversation, your manager is gathering the one thing they crave more than performance data: certainty about where his loyalty sits. You're not losing because you're worse. You're losing because the relationship doesn't feel as safe. This is the hidden psychological rule underneath all of it. in a workplace, trust is not built through performance. Trust is built through emotional legibility. Legible people are people whose motivations feel readable, whose loyalty feels clear, whose presence feels non-threatening. High performers, especially quiet, independent, self-sufficient high performers, often score low on emotional legibility. Not because anything is wrong with them, but because they focused on the work when the environment was quietly scoring something else. And here's the worst part of this truth: the very habits that make you excellent at your job, autonomy, high standards, internal drive, efficiency, can read to a socially insecure manager as arrogance, aloofness, or hidden ambition. Your silence after a meeting isn't you processing information. It's suspiciously quiet. Your efficiency isn't impressive. It's making others look slow. Your lack of drama isn't maturity. It's impossible to read. You've been playing a game of chess while everyone else was playing poker. And in poker, it doesn't matter how good your cards are. What matters is how the other players feel about sitting at the table with you. So what do you actually do with this? Not what the motivational videos tell you. Not the generic speak up more in meetings advice that changes nothing. Real strategy. Psychologically sound strategy. First, manufacture visibility without performing. The goal is not to become Marcus. You don't need to be late or mediocre. The goal is to give your manager access, controlled, strategic, selective access, into your thinking. This doesn't mean oversharing. It means creating small, regular moments of transparency. You send a brief message before a big deliverable: working through the final structure on this, should have it to you by Thursday, maybe sooner. That's it. 7 seconds to write. What it does, it gives your manager a window into your process. It creates a thread of connection. It makes you legible. You're not asking for help. You're giving them visibility. That's different. And it changes how they read you. Second, make your manager feel useful, strategically. This one is hard for high performers. It requires ego management. Not every question you have needs to be answered by yourself. Occasionally, bring your manager a decision. Not because you can't make it, but because including them in the decision creates shared ownership. It makes them feel like a participant in your success, not a passive observer of it. The key distinction: you're not manufacturing incompetence. You're manufacturing partnership. Third, decode your manager before you optimize for performance. Every manager has a core insecurity driving their behavior. Some need to feel respected. Some need to feel needed. Some need to feel in control of information. Some need to feel like the smartest person in the room. Your job is to identify which flavor of insecurity you're working with, and structure your relationship accordingly. This isn't manipulation. It's emotional intelligence applied to a high-stakes relationship. Because no matter how good your work is, it passes through a human being before it becomes your reputation. And that human being is not a performance review spreadsheet. They're a person with fears and blind spots and a quiet need to feel secure. Fourth, make your loyalty visible, on purpose. Marcus doesn't outperform you. He outsignals you. Every casual conversation is a signal. Every ask for advice is a signal. Every check-in after a difficult week is a signal. Those signals say, I see you as important. I'm not a threat. I'm not going anywhere. You don't have to be Marcus to send those signals. You just have to be intentional about sending them. One genuine conversation per week. One moment where you acknowledge your manager as a human being, not just a gatekeeper between you and the next title. That's not selling out. That's playing the game with your eyes open. Here's what you need to understand about the workplace you actually live in. It is not a meritocracy. It is not a manipulation machine either. It is something more complicated and more human than both of those things. It is a social organism, governed by trust, perception, psychological safety, and the invisible stories people tell themselves about who belongs and who doesn't. Your work enters that organism. But it doesn't speak for itself. You have to speak for it. Through relationships. Through visibility. Through calculated moments of human connection. The people getting promoted around you are not always smarter than you. They are not always harder working than you. They are, often, simply more legible to the people making decisions. Marcus didn't steal your promotion. Your manager's brain made a quiet, emotional, largely unconscious decision based on comfort, familiarity, and psychological safety. And by the time that decision was made, before the meeting was even scheduled, before the form was filed, before the conversation ever happened, it was already done. The question you have to answer now is simple: are you going to keep being excellent in silence? Or are you going to learn to be excellent and understood? Because in the workplace, in the real workplace, not the one on the org chart, the person who gets the room is not always the best player. It's the one the room already trusts. And trust, real organizational trust, was never about your performance. It was always about how safe people felt when they couldn't see what you were thinking. That's the game. Now you know it exists.